We're good.
Okay, thanks everyone for joining. It's Parks and Rec Commission meeting, September 14th. Audience of citizens. No one physically is here. Is anyone online? Okay, we'll move on. Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of July 2nd.
Any discussion, Joe? Any discussion?
I'm good with it.
You good? Let's see. Yeah, Joe was there. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Consent agenda. If I could I have a motion for A, B, and C first?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we accept consent agenda A, B, and C. If you want me to read it, I will.
You don't need to.
Nonsense.
I had a question regarding the luminaries. Are they like real fire or not?
There were the plastic candles that they put in the bag. They don't
nice.
put
Yeah,
they're
the battery one.
battery powered.
Where are they going to put them? What? Where are they going to put them?
They usually put them on the field, like
Okay,
around.
all right, cool.
You know,
I don't know. I wasn't there last year.
that's normally policy.
Okay.
So,
Motion on the table.
okay, so we got a motion. Can we hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a little bit of discussion. Joe, any comments before we vote on ABC?
No, I'm in favor of all three of those, A, B, and C, worthwhile causes, so I'm good with it.
Okay, so hearing any more questions? So it's good. Hearing more questions. All in favor of items A, B, and C?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, can we have a motion for item D, please?
I'd like to make a motion for consent agenda D. I can read it if you want.
Okay, Lucas said seconds. Any discussion? This is soccer tournament, CCC year-end tournament to determine, who's the state champs. They run it at Scalise.
No, isn't that for the league champs versus the CIAC and the?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
CCC league champs. Yes. Right. And they had it there last year, and so in order to sell tickets, they need our permission. Okay. So we have a motion, second, right? Any questions on D? Okay, hearing none, all in favor to allow them to sell? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, consent agenda item E.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we accept consent agenda E.
C.
Second.
Sorry.
Okay. Any discussion, questions?
Just a quick question, Donna. The comment about waiving $1,090, but not to exceed, is there any chance that dollar value is going to change, or is it just that's
So the 1,090 is the time Dave, the AD, has reserved the field is 3:30 to 8:30 on Wednesday and 3:30 to 8:30 on Friday. So based on those times, based on the minimum of when you need the lights, that's the number that we came up with. So we just did amount to exceed, just because if he needs lights for another hour, do we go back and charge them? Or this is based on the reservation times he requested and what the requirements are for lights.
Understood.
So it could be less if for some reason they have one less game, but it shouldn't be more.
Got it. Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
And just so that everybody's aware, Steve and the AD today discussed public grounds involvement. And normally they would be there Wednesday, Friday, and possibly Saturday for cleanup. But based on how Dave's stacking it and Steve feels very comfortable, so he and Jen worked it out. And so they will pay for public works time, which is expected to be on Saturday for cleanup.
That'll be $510 because they're paying a grounds guy for 3 hours and a custodian for 3 hours. So
it's similar to what they charge.
Similar to what they do for like
the
Jamboree or the McGee Invitational. Instead of having them pay extra to have them on site Wednesday and Friday during the event.
Okay. Now, if you look at the handwritten form by our AD that was signed, Jen has to select one of these boxes for the town manager in order to get this thing to the town council, and has to approve the waiver of fees, right?
Yep.
So there's a couple of things that are going on in here. So these ticket prices fund the expenses for this tournament. And I have, and I did forward it to Jen, their P&L from last year where they lost $350, $380. But it didn't include public grounds fees because last year we were unaware of the extent of this playoffs. Now we know more. So if everything is equal, they lose 580. So they're in a losing cycle, right? So, but there's town. I don't know if they're budgeted, but I assume so because there are town staff.
I think the easiest one is the state program, which provides.
And then right, you have the
nationally or state affiliated.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the easiest one that's gonna
You're
mark the
comfortable with
box.
that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not up to me, it's up to a Roche, but that's the one I could probably sway
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And then, so what'll happen after this'll, if you guys approve this, this will go to town council for the field and light fees, and then after the event, Dave, the AD, will get an invoice from Steve for the grounds and custodial work for, I believe off the top of my head, it was $510. Similar to how we invoice after Nutmeg games. So.
Just for my curiosity, can you decipher Dave's handwriting?
But I knew enough about the event. If you have questions, let me know.
So do you want, it's at all will benefit students of PHS?
I got that part.
Okay. What do you want?
Identifying the hardship says we have lost something
Money.
of money.
On this tourney every year.
Trying to save costs for Berlin High School.
Okay.
And CCC. There is insurance provided by BHS, and Jen's going to follow up. CCC should have insurance. She's just going to follow up with that.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of item consent agenda E? Right.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay.
So I asked this question before, the concessions. So
yeah,
it's going to be open, right? So
Yeah, the concessions, they will work with the numerous school groups that have the licensing and the permission to use the concessions. It could be class of 2024. It could be a group from the boosters, such as Friends of Women's Soccer, or Friends of Boys Soccer. But that'll be something that'll be worked out with the high school.
So that money goes to those groups.
Yeah, if class of 2024 works the concession, they get the proceeds.
Another thing that he was considering is there's a scholarship for George Sennett, who was the principal, principal's back, he's since passed, is that group, they raise money for these scholarships for students of BHS. Those funds would go to that as a possible option. Okay, Debbie, Parks and Rec?
Yep. Sent out my monthly report, so I don't know if anyone has any questions, comments, and then I also sent out the summary of all the summer programs with financial.
This is good.
Yeah.
In time with. Yeah. So can I just ask, so on the summer program, this comment to the left, what is, I'm not sure I understand what that comment said.
Okay, so in 2022, because we only had one site available, because I didn't have staff for 2 sites, we increased the number at Pistol Creek, so we went from 80 to 90. But really felt that with the 90 and all the staff, having over 100 people there was a little bit too many to have. So we reduced it back to the 80.
Okay.
So it's just reflecting that the monies are higher because we brought in, we had more kids registered, that's all. But really didn't feel comfortable having the 90 there. It's a lot of people, so especially in inclement weather to have.
In 2023, one site, Pistol Creek, 80 people.
Yep,
and
sold
you're
out.
Comfortable with that number? That's what you're that's going to keep it up.
And we sold out in what, 40 minutes?
That's insane.
So just to clarify, numbers in the brackets are from 2022.
Yes. Yep, and all of the in the camp and the pools. So I mean, our passes were down a little bit, not totally unexpected with closing one pool, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
A great response, and a much appreciation for having a senior pass.
Yeah, that's
So,
great.
And like, as you can see,
24.
24
A lot of
being sold,
compliments when
yeah,
people
that
came
was,
in.
and also even the daily senior fees, reducing those, you know, people were very happy about that, so.
Right.
We have that caregiver babysitter pass that with the, trying to resolve the issue we had the previous year. And just had one family that had two grandmothers, who were from one was actually out of state, one was from out of town, who came in, showed their ID, and then used that pass. So, we'll continue to do that. There's no cost for that, but it's, you know, it didn't really catch on, or just wasn't needed last year.
One of the things I saw in your comment was, you tried doing lifeguard training.
Yeah.
And we only had 2 people sign up for it. You need 5 for the Red Cross.
Yeah, Red Cross requires that we have 5.
So you couldn't run this.
Could not run it, yeah, unfortunately.
How did the staff do the lifeguards? Do you think there's some that can move up to the supervisory level, or are you still assessing that?
There may be a few, but just a lot of them still are kind of lacking the maturity. Yeah, so. And of course, from year to year, you don't know who's coming.
Right, that's more relative.
Yeah.
So it looks like you actually made more money on the swim team, right? Or the pool.
The numbers went up. Yeah, COVID, we didn't have it for 2 years because of COVID, and you know, the first year back, our numbers were pretty low. They still were a little bit on the low end last year. I mean, 24 juniors is great, but we've had like 90 or 100 when I first, you know, took over the program. So just think there's not as much interest, and a lot of the towns in the league we're in, it's the same thing. Everyone's seen a decline in it. And a lot of those towns have year-round programs, but still have a decline. But you know, it's a good number, and people had a great time. And you know, it's a very quick season. It's only about 6 weeks, so
Yeah.
you know, it's
The swimming lessons 1 week. So if it rains, as it did this year, like a couple of days, do you add on at the end? Or
no, it's
you
just
can't?
one. Yeah, and people actually like it better because before we had either 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that's a big commitment. You go on vacation 1 week, you miss a whole week, most kids won't pass.
Okay.
So the lessons are a little bit longer. And we really didn't have a lot of cancellations, believe it or not. We might have had like one. If it's raining at like say 9:30, doesn't cancel for the whole day, it just cancels that whatever session that is. So we didn't really have a lot of cancellations. They were kind of, you know, you always get a few, but it wasn't like a week of rain.
Is all the revenue numbers, that's gross revenue, correct?
Yes.
And then net, like paying all the councils, all that stuff, how does that work out?
So I did a rough, I didn't include it in this, but we definitely, our salary and our expenses were definitely below that. So we made the town
Direct expenses.
Yeah.
Like the lifeguards and.
No, the camp you were talking about.
Oh, I'm
I'm talking
sorry.
about all the programs.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
how it works.
pools we never cover.
Okay.
But like,
does?
that's always a question with the camp program, and based on the salaries that we paid out and then the supplies that we bought, they're definitely, we brought in more revenue than we paid. So which is always the goal. That's what, you know, the town has kind of always wanted us to do. So it's worked out. And again, I think it's just because we filmed every week, you know, and we had some kids that missed time, and some kids had vacation, and you know, which
If there's so much demand for it, is there a way to get another site up and running?
it's just the staff. I need like a teacher to run it, and teachers just don't want to work it.
There was another site at the community center.
It's having the right person. Believe me, it's not like the old playground days where you just throw the ball out. I mean, there's a lot involved and a lot to run this, and you can't just have a college kid come in and run it like they used to. I mean, there's a lot of issues with kids. You know, it's a different world since COVID. And yeah, we had the 2 sites, but I lost one of my teachers. Just didn't want to do it anymore. So we advertise.
They have to be a teacher to get the
Yeah, I
position?
would prefer that because they really have the ability to be able to run it. Like I get very few calls to my level, which is the goal. They handle like the person that runs my site now is phenomenal, and just she handles everything. She's a teacher in New Britain and has been doing that for years, and can handle the kids and can handle adults, and we have very few problems. So
Is she one of the people who works with you?
yes, yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it does make it. It's not like I said, it's not the good old days where you could just throw anyone out there. It's a lot, and we've had some issues in the past, and you know it scares people, some of the stuff that we've had to deal with. So
Well done on the revenue.
yes.
so, I mean, so the point is that even though you don't have somebody, next year we're gonna try to advertise.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah, because
always.
I know that people would say, geez, things sold out in 4 hours. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want me to tell you? Sign up soon.
40 minutes.
Yeah, right.
40
20
minutes.
minutes and
Yeah.
40.
Try get less extreme steam training, Santa.
Yeah.
Within 2 minutes, fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
There-
if there's great demand,
Right.
that's what's gonna happen.
Right, yeah. Shows it's successful.
There's a
like
place in
it.
Glastonbury that does that too. We saw it on Berlin Buzz.
Oh,
It
oh,
does
that's
a-
okay.
Look at Thomaston. Thomaston never sells out.
All right, so. And then we'll just, so we do charge fees here, we charge for the fields, you know, there's fees being charged from generated revenue. The second page are self-funded programs.
Right. So probably about 25 years ago, they created a special revenue account. And so now any new programs I would not put into the regular budget to be funded from the general fund. They have to be self-sustaining and they have to come out of this account. So that's what all these are. And our numbers were good this year, not overly terrific, but they were good. We were able to run quite a few programs. The camps at the facility run by our dance instructor were phenomenal. I mean, those were well received, and she's doing a bunch of programs in the fall now. So
What ages was dance?
I think it starts at 2. I think 2
Younger ages?
5.
I bring this up and I'm gonna comment.
Right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that's my
Okay, thanks, Ellen.
administrative assistant.
At the last town council meeting, Steve Wood was there, I was there, there were a few speakers that spoke. One woman got up and spoke about middle school students and how she does not see our Parks and Rec programs providing middle school age students with activities, programs, or whatever. There were some comments from the town council. I just listened to her. I told her she's always welcome to come to our meetings. One of the counselors talked about it and said, perhaps we can get Uppy to kind of come down from the high school to engage kids that aren't sports inclined, because Uppy does all these different things. And then I was just thinking, and take this for whatever your thoughts are, but if there's some way that Parks and Rec can just, maybe spearhead, just bring these groups together, and maybe there's something between the schools, Uppy, maybe Parks and Rec, I don't know, but I wanted to bring that up to your attention. That's what they were talking about, but we really don't hear anything to the middle-aged school students.
Yep. I do the best I can for one person. So yeah, we've tried to do some things in the past, and the support isn't there. The people often say they want to do programs, but when you offer them, they don't sign up. So
They don't.
Then again, it's like finding a person to run the program and do things. Now, a lot of the Uppy houses already go into the elementary schools and do things with the kids. So do they try to create another house? And then when you get to the community center, what do? You can play in the game room, but like, are people gonna? We're not bringing in revenue for that. We would have to get people to volunteer to do that, which we don't really get into the volunteer portion of it because it's hard to monitor that. And you depend on volunteers, and if participants show and your volunteers don't, you don't have a program.
Right. I know the middle school, at least when my kids went, they used to have drop-ins and things like that.
Yeah.
I assume they still do.
I think Uppy still
They
does
do,
that.
yeah.
And Jamie and Robin from Social Need Services do a great after-school program with McGee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are all good things. I just pass that on because this woman, she actually talked pretty passionately about it. So.
Can I ask what Skyhawks are?
So Skyhawks is a national organization run out of Spokane, I think, Washington. They do camps all over the place. So we have a few of them. We don't do a ton, but they're called mini hawks, tiny hawks. So they start at like 3 to 5, I think. And then they have all different ones. They do STEM soccer. We do volleyball and basketball, or the basketball camp that we started registering in February. I think that sold out within like a week or something.
They send people to run a camp?
They hire people, they hire local kids to run the camps for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have some adults too. One year we had a couple high school coaches running like our volleyball and basketball program.
And then these are all dance classes, action, mini camp, everything?
Yep.
Okay.
Dance, and then she did like arts and crafts with them and stuff like that. Yeah, very popular.
Who runs the Personal Euphoria class?
That's a business out of Wethersfield. So they used to do in-person classes, now they just do virtual classes.
That sounds fun.
That's the name of their company. So it's they do Pilates, they do core strength. We're offering, I think, 7 classes right now. We only have 1 person signed up, but because they combine with other towns, they're still able to run programs.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's more of a service that we provide. We don't make any money off of it, but we're just providing an option for residents to be able to sign up.
Any other questions, Joe? Anything, Debbie?
No, I'm all set. I think that was a good discussion. It's unfortunate that we couldn't get more kids interested in lifeguard training.
Yeah.
Any chance or any consideration of doing something with another town next year?
Well, I'm not sure what you're doing.
We train this group.
Like go to Newington and say, hey, listen, we'd like to train collectively to try to get the right number of kids.
Well, they'll send me that they're offering classes, and I'll send it out to people, or we'll post it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of their facility and it's hard to combine on that, because they're going to want to train people for their programs, basically.
Right.
We have had some kids that have taken classes through other towns and then come to work for Berlin.
I think you mentioned different numbers if you collate.
But they all run the programs already. Yeah, they get run classes, whether
and he was asking, I think he was asking if we collate together, jump on the band like them, have our people train there.
Well, like she said, she sends it out when they're offering.
Yeah, when people call us, I always tell them to reach out to those communities, because they run them year round, because they have the facilities to do it. So they have that advantage over us to be able to do that.
So, okay.
Hold it.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So all to your point of the person who spoke passionately about after school programs, parking like there's been a lot, but I like to look at it on the Berlin bus about a lot of stuff like rec, what other things can we do, splash pad, and what other towns are offering.
Yeah.
So we know that we're impacted by the budget, right? And there's only one person that really can run it. Debbie does a great job. So thinking proactively, whatever that means, there seems to be a demand. To Debbie's point, we can do something and maybe nothing shows up. But what can we do proactively to maybe identify some programs that some of these people might be interested in? And then I guess we'd have to get approval for the budget, right?
I think what
No,
Donna
there's
said,
no budget. It would have to be totally self-sustaining.
I think what Donna said at the council was, you guys have ideas, and watch the council. If you guys have ideas, bring them to the Park and Rec Commission.
Like I told this woman, I went up to her personally, I said, please come to our meetings. I talked at the council meeting about the October 12th meeting that we have as well. And that we encourage ideas. We need ideas. You need to come to the meetings. Facebook is a good place for people to dump comments, react, but it's not something that we can count on. We need to hear from you, and we encourage you to do that. So
or even emailing us. I mean, just to have something so that there is an interest, and then try to expand on that.
Right.
Social media has become so big nowadays that they think if they put it there, the right people are reading it. When in actuality, look at all the comments on social media about East Berlin Pool closing. how many calls did we get in the office? How many people came in the office and asked us questions about it? Nowhere near the amount of comments you've seen. So we have to push people to actually call the department, come to a meeting.
It's easier for people to complain. So,
Right, and I think if we start reacting to those, that creates a whole nother problem of listening to social media.
To your point, October 12th, we have a meeting at Hubbard School. And I know that there is a private group now that I just saw, women set up a private group to encourage people to come to our October 12th meeting.
Our meeting should be somewhere else.
Yeah, our October meeting is gonna be at Hubbard School. So we're gonna be booked in the media center because that's the best position for the audiovisual equipment.
Okay.
And that's where it's best gonna be recorded. We only have about 25 to 30 spots for audience of citizens, which based on all our attendance at all our meetings and attendance based on town council meetings, even when there's a Facebook, rant about it, I think that's gonna be plenty.
Probably the one across from a baseball field or is the one in East Berlin?
East Berlin.
That's
Elementary
both.
Yeah, so the front door will be open. I'll post signs when I go in and it'll be in there.
Make a lot of cookies for that one.
I think it's very important that we go into that meeting and treat it exactly how a meeting needs to be treated.
Right.
We have audience of citizens, and in the past, we've had audience of citizens here, and some of them have stuck around and maybe provided a comment or two later in the meeting. But if you watch a town council meeting, or you watch a board of finance meeting, or you watch a planning and zoning meeting, public comes, they speak at audience of citizens, it's not a give and take, it's not, maybe a simple yes or no answer here or there, but it's more of them coming, reflecting their ideas, asking questions, and then we go into the meeting and we can discuss, or we can tell them we'll get back to them. We can't sit here and have a give or take with every single person that comes to speak at audience of
This
citizens.
is to listen to people, whether they want to come and talk about the more the pool closing, or they want to come talk about other programs that they'd like us to see, or other things, splash pad to put in. There might be some people from this moms group who have gone to the council meetings. That one person came to our meeting as a representative here. But we need to sit back and listen, and that's how I'm going to run.
And it's a okay, great. Thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking. Next on the list.
And
It's not we
well,
love this
I have it on the
idea.
list.
We're gonna put it in our capital project. It's none of that give and take.
And I'll just say, and we're going to digest everything that you've talked to us about. We have it in our minutes. It will be there. We will probably not discuss any of these things in great detail tonight.
Right.
You're welcome to stay, but probably won't get discussed because we need to digest these thoughts, have the commissioners think about it, and then probably start discussing some of these things November, December.
right. So I think the critical piece to this is that the people who come to talk about whatever need to leave with the sense that some of these issues ideas are going to be dealt with, right? It's not like going to a meeting. Yeah, we'll talk about it like everything else happens in this town and nothing happens.
But you have to understand, some of the ideas they're bringing to us cannot be dealt with if we do not have funding. We can't put new playground elements at Little People's if we don't have funding.
Right, we can talk about it and see whether it's something that we want to put in for future funding.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also predicated on them, depending on what that is, or you have that parents group that comes in, they want to do whatever, that they need to put pressure on the town council, and this is what, and people need to start calling them so this is the voting season, and to see what they can do. I mean, if they keep on doing nothing because they feel no pressure to do anything, they can do what they want.
Right.
I will say, if you look over many years I've been on, and past people, prior years, we tend to think about some of the negative things all the time. Look how many positive differences our staff, this commission as a whole, has made. And things have progressed fairly well. We've gotten a lot of funds for various things, whether it was from the town or from the state. And the staff is chock full trying to get some of these things finished and complete. So I feel, I don't think we need to talk about town council has done nothing or whatever. I think we need to digest it. It's up to us to recommend to the council what we hear from people. And if we concur,
right,
that's what we want to do. And to your point, yes. So, maybe we have a board. I have an old easel. I could bring an easel with big pad of paper like that. We can mark it down, but it's gonna be in our minutes, it's videotaped. So we will tell them, we will talk about each item that was brought. We, you know, we'll group things if they're similar. But, you know, that's what we'll do. But, you know, for us to reflect and make very quick decisions just based on comments from this meeting doesn't do anybody a service. There's a lot of things that have to go into research and things like that.
Right. So I think that's part of the answer, right? That this is what we're going to do. Those are all good points. And then how are we going to communicate that? I'm just asking, I don't know.
You mean how to communicate it back to the people?
Yes, to say, listen, I'm interested in this. Are we going to do our Park and Rec Commission?
Yeah.
Research this, you know, item A.
It'll be in our minutes, it'll be on the recording,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they
but
are
that
always
doesn't-
welcome to
Well,
come
we can
back to
say that
another
if you'd
meeting.
like to get copies of our minutes, you know, they can give me their name and I'll just forward copies of their minutes, or they can go online or whatever.
So I think my point is, it's just important they get heard and that we respond to them
Yes, I
somehow.
agree.
I agree, you have to be very careful, it doesn't become a back and forth.
The only thing that,
It's
And-
not how
and again,
these
I'm-
meetings are supposed to be run.
I'm not talking about here, I'm just talking about we're gonna do the meeting, this is what the plan is, and this is, you know, at least they know
Yeah.
that they may be heard.
communication and back to them. Good, fair point. The only thing that we will, if there's comments, you know, we'll jot down, and at the end, maybe there are certain corrections, maybe assumptions they made that are not factually correct. That's the only thing that we will respond to, facts, not I want, you want. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, we do charge for fees for the fields and for our programs and for this. We don't have to get into a lot of detail, but we just want to let people know if there's something factually that's not said correctly by someone in the audience.
Okay. Yep.
I did send Jen just a couple of, I don't know, 4 or 5 things just to be prepared for October, like, you know, staff. We know we have Debbie, we have Ally. Jen is, she's over, I don't know how many departments, 4 departments. She's real, you know, to be fair, Parks and Rec, and Debbie, Ally, and, you know, there's an admin, but again, she's over various departments, including Steve's. And then you have
Not
Steve and his staff.
Steve
Oh,
does
not
not work,
Steve.
Steve does not work for me.
Okay.
So the admin. Admin.
Yes, the admin does.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I said.
Oh, I thought you meant me.
No, not you, no. And then, you know, and then Steve for Public Grounds, he reports into my Commission of Public Works. And it's his staff, and that's limited, you know, but, so, you know, how do we compare with other towns? You know. Well, Newington has.
Pretty bad, I'll tell you right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
one of the things to know, like numbers. Oh, Newington has 4 full-time, 5 or whatever it is. They do an extravaganza, yes, they have however many people. We'd really like to gather that information.
And the budgets, in other words, so I mean, the people have to understand, it's great to have ideas, but if you don't have the budgets to do it, and or if it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's like, you know, it has to be self-sustaining, right?
Has to be.
Yeah, so I mean, those are all things that are important, like, you know, what does Rocky Hill do? What does Newington do? Towns that are like us, tiny, you know, just to have a comparison. Yeah, Cromwell, comparables, that's all.
Better. Better.
They don't do much.
Don't get me
That's
started
a
on
little better.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
I live in
sent
Maryland, I
Jen
can see it
shortly.
too.
If, you know, if there's things, send them to me, I'll tell you, you know, I don't wanna necessarily type in time, but, you know, feel free, talk to me or whatever. You know, they're so busy, they gotta focus on certain things, so they'll have, you know, comparisons. We already have comparisons on fees, so. We've already done that. We do that every time too, because we look at setting fees every year. They always provide us what the fees are for other towns. Okay, so that's that October. Joe, any comments, questions?
You know, I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion, but I think the approach we're talking about is spot on. This is a venue for people to come in, share their opinions, express their position, right? No decision should be made there. It should be take it all in, discuss it further on as further commission meetings go on. Doing anything during that commission meeting would be kind of rash. So I'm looking forward to it. And I hope that there is a good public turnout.
I hope people do show. I hope they bring us some ideas. You know, kind of, we all gotta think out of the box. I hope that happens.
So what are we gonna do to advertise it? We got the parents doing.
Right,
So
so,
is the parents group part of maybe the PTA or whatever they call it at Hubbard? I mean, should they be notified to send
that's
out?
fair. I actually emailed, Crystal, who is the contact, and they came to our last time.
Let's say, if we tell Crystal, she'll get it out there.
I'm sorry?
If we tell Crystal, she'll get it out there.
Yeah, so that's good. So PTOs, that's good. It's already on Facebook. I've answered some, but then now
I
there's
was
this
gonna
group
put
come to
something,
the meeting.
I was gonna put something out on the town of Facebook, like
Yes.
the week before, but worded as to how we, like, you know, change, kind of what we've talked about on how the meeting
Audience
will
of
be run.
citizens, you're
Yeah,
able to bring ideas.
exactly.
That's great. The papers don't print any. I mean, unfortunately, Citizen doesn't support it. So
Why not?
Good question.
It's not just our department,
No, it's the whole town.
it's the whole town.
The Berlin Citizen doesn't like Berlin?
Well,
You send them
it's a
stuff
record
and they
journal.
don't print
right,
it.
it's a record journal out of Meriden, but if you look at the paper, right? It's limited. Bob Mayer actually did the write-up for the Dems in today's paper, and I only know that because he put it out on Facebook and said it will be in next week's edition. He couldn't even get it in last week's, I guess.
Right.
So they're just not covering.
Unless you pay.
Could be a Republican council.
No, maybe staff,
If you're not paying for the ad, so, because animal control gets every ad in there because they
we tried
pay
to
for it.
put letters to the editor and not printed.
Is that still Bob Mayer? He's still down the street?
Is it still up?
No, he just
Oh,
does.
no.
limited.
Yeah.
No, it's the Record Journal has taken
Right,
over.
Record Journal in Meriden.
They've had reporters that we were able to ask to come
Yes.
to events.
Yeah, they don't even do that.
They don't.
They don't do that
I got
anymore.
interviewed for 3 special events and that one got it.
One of my rescue dogs was put on the week. Little Violet.
Oh, yeah, right, I do see that, that's positive. Okay, any other questions? Parks and Rec. Okay, that being said, Steve's report.
So he gave you reports for July and August, I think.
Yeah,
If you have any questions, you can ask them next week, because I probably don't know the answers. Try.
Does anybody have any questions on Steve's reports?
Nope, I'm good.
They're busy.
Okay. Okay, the next thing is the field policy, and highlighted in there is a change.
I do just want to point out, I didn't realize this when I sent it.
Yeah.
On page 2, where it talks about Zipadelli and Sage 1 softball, those were changes we already made. We just keep them highlighted always because they're that important. The only highlighted changes we are looking to make are on the first page regarding St. Paul's School. This is something Donna approached me about and asked me to put it in and have you guys vote on it.
So let me explain why. So each year, you can see this talks about fees, charging fees for the use of fields. So group 1, Town of Berlin, Board of Ed, they're exempt from paying for rental fees on the fields. Okay. Group 2, Berlin Youth Leagues, Soccer League, Little League, blah, blah, blah. They're exempt. St. Paul's School was not included, and that's the addition that we'd like to see added. And in the past, including this past year, because it's not in our policy, St. Paul's will come to Jen, she'll come to us. We have historically approved waiving of fees because it's a youth school organization. They provide insurance. So we though have to go to council because it's outside of the policy to waive.
Okay.
So we would like to have this use policy just incorporate St. Paul's, which is here in Berlin. And it's just for St. Paul's School, just for the student activities. And if there's any further questions, let her know.
I have a question.
So
Okay. And
They're, if I'm not mistaken, they're the only non-public school in town, correct?
They're the only non, are
They're
they,
non-public
school.
school in town.
Right,
think so.
it's a non-public school.
Okay,
It is a non-public, again, we waived it historically every year.
Yep.
And so this will avoid us having to go to council.
and the reason for my question to the commission is simply, we say St. Paul School, if there's another school in town that services kids from town, would we consider them as well?
If there is another school and they come to us and we learn about it, we'll learn more about it, and then we can decide as a commission to waive it, recommend waiving it to the council, and then incorporate that perhaps into this policy at that point.
All right, but as of right now, we're only aware of St. Paul. That's it. Okay.
Right, this is-
I would be in
this is-
favor of it.
Yes,
Right.
so the thing is, Joe, they come, like every year to get this fee waived, right?
Right.
So it makes sense to incorporate it as part of our policies. Now, what does it take for us to do that? Let's make a recommendation for the council on that.
not even, it
No,
doesn't have to go to the
we can do
council, you have
Okay, good.
oversight of fields.
So, let's see.
So I didn't put it on consent because I knew there was gonna be a discussion, so you just need a motion to incorporate the changes presented in section 1A. B.
Oh, yeah, AB. Yes.
We did, just so you know, we added Berlin, Connecticut and .I, just because St. Paul School is there are other St. Paul schools in the state, so that just kind of limited it. So with that, can I hear a motion to accept change to our field facility use policy as presented in section B?
Section 1A.
I'm sorry, A, group 2.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we include the change mentioned in section 1, part A, subsection B, that speaks to exempting St. Paul School from field rental fees for all their athletic programs offered.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, appreciate that. By the way, I did talk to Don and Tony, just, see if they had any comments to convey, but they concurred as well, so but they're not here tonight, so. Okay, CCC event at Sage, we talked about that, right?
Yeah,
So we're done. Sage Park field use.
that's all you.
So, back at the end of August, well, I'm gonna ask all commissioners, right, say this, right? This is our policy. There's also a field usage rules and regulations. You know what I thought of? I'm gonna make books for everybody.
What is
I'm
that?
gonna have tabs.
What is the field usage rule?
This is rules and regulations. And people,
It's on the website.
it's on the
Yeah.
website.
Oh, okay. Just didn't recognize it
Just-
from there. Like before you're showing.
Yeah, no, that's all right. This
What
one-
is it?
Right on the website.
So anyway, we're gonna make books for everybody because it's like a permanent book for you, so as things happen, you go.
Nice.
All right,
Like a Bible.
so the end of August, and Jen and Steve have been hearing that this adult soccer league has been playing on either Sage Auxiliary, but for the most part on Sage 2 softball field in the back, which we do have use for soccer in the fall and spring. And it's lined and all that.
They also have played on the outfield at Sage 1.
They did, in the history, they played in Sage 1. This is more recent, so. We do have a history with this group, where they played previously, on Sage 1, which is the official softball field. No one's supposed to play anything but softball in there.
That's right connected to the parking lot.
Yeah, it's a lot
Yeah,
of
on the
field.
right,
Right.
Sage 1,
It's the high school.
it's fenced in
Softball.
That's called Sage 1, the baseball field.
Yeah.
softball.
No,
No,
so as
okay,
you
so-
come in, up on the hill is Zipadelli, that's the
Right, that's
baseball
the
field.
Zipadelli.
That is
Baseball.
high school only during high school season, the only other teams are local teams like American Legion or Berlin.
You got a box to take off.
Yeah, if you drive around the parking lot, the back corner, brand new, only a year old,
Softball.
renovated, that's Sage One softball. That is high school softball only during season, outside season, only local groups like Berlin Little League and an adult group. Behind that is Sage Two, which is another softball field, but it's used as a multi-use field as soccer and lacrosse as well.
And then the one next to the football field further down.
Sage
Sage
Auxiliary.
Auxiliary.
Yeah.
All right, I'm getting it.
No,
I'll
that's
make you
all
a
right.
map.
Yeah,
All right.
soccer
I'll
as
send
well.
you, I have a map.
So do you not want these people in Sage too?
So on this adult league, they've been playing, Jen and Steve have been following it. Greg also, because he's up there a lot, he's kind of seen them around. So, one Tuesday night towards the end of August, I got word that they were gonna be up there at Sage Two playing Tuesday night. Seems Tuesdays, Thursday, maybe Sundays they play. So I went up there and there was a midget football game going on at the same time. Sage parking, it was just, you know, there was a big crowd. East Hartford football teams, and then you got the soccer team. So I focused on some parking issues that we had, and then Steve, just so you know, has since put in parking signs at Sage, including the Newman property down on the Berlin Turnpike. There's a school bus right now saying we're looking for drivers. That's called the Newman property.
That's the
That's
auxiliary
owned,
park.
town-owned, has a lot of environmental issues. That's why it hasn't been developed or used for us by a field or anything, but can be used for parking for Sage.
We
So
can
he's-
walk through the woods after that,
Well, you
There's
can
a,
count
there's
there,
a
you're gonna
walk
say,
going through.
next to that octagon house. Some kind of octagon.
On the hill, yeah.
So anyway, Steve put up additional parking, so that took care of it. So, okay. So I further, Tony actually had stopped up. He took a walk with his wife. And he had stopped up and I said, you know, Tony, I'm spent. I've been here since 5:30. It was probably like 8. I said, I came up thinking I would see the adult soccer league. They're not here on Sage Auxiliary, but I think they might be down at the softball field. I did talk to 2 of the gentlemen that were carrying cleats. I asked them to speak to their leader that, you know, we do charge fees. There's insurance required for them. They said they would talk to me. So Tony said, don't worry, I'll walk down, I'll see. So Tony called me as I was leaving Sage and he said, yeah, they're here. And by the sound of it, it sounded like he wanted me back. So I went back, walked up, and they were there. And so just long story short, I said, gentlemen, you know, please, they were coming off for a break. I said there were fees involved, there's insurance required. I think you all know the rules. I'm gonna ask you to leave. There was yelling going back and forth. There were cameras. I don't know where these videos are. There were cameras going by some of the soccer players. How many are from Berlin? I don't know. How many are from out of town? I can't tell you. I didn't recognize one person. Historically, we did have issues with an adult soccer league or the same maybe adult soccer league. And there were issues, they then started paying, and then perhaps they've started playing again for a while without paying. They just don't want to pay. So there was a lot of yelling going back and forth. I wish I could have called the police because I would have felt safer. And for everybody's safety, theirs too. So, but the police, I had talked to them about the parking and they said, look, we don't have any staff right now available for that. So I knew they couldn't come for this. So I walked them out. We walked, I said, please feel free to come to our Parks and Rec Commission meeting. You know, September, whatever date. And I shook one fellow's hand that he told us during this discussion that he was from town. I said, I'm gonna ask you to be very constructive and to handle yourself appropriately. And you probably have the policy and you come in and speak to our policy and let the commissioners come. So that was done. I then left, they left, that was it. I did tell Jen and Steve the next day, and then later that day or whatever, the fellow that I shook his hand, he called the mayor through the town manager, wanted to talk to the mayor. So before the mayor got back to him, he listened to him. So the mayor had questions, so Jen, Steve, and I met with the mayor in Roche August 31st. And we explained, Jen and Steve did a fabulous job. They explained the history. How we've had some renegade groups, if you want to call them that, you know, that don't feel comfortable paying the fees, and how we've tightened it up. How other groups provide insurance, like we would require from this group, including Berlin Youth Soccer, midget football, blah, blah. He had the policies. I think it was a good discussion. He said he would call this person back and explain. Well, he must have gotten tied up, because I've been texting the mayor since August 31st, you know, off and on. After a week or so, I gave him a week. But anyway, he did call me today. The mayor called me today. He did talk to this fellow today. He got back to him today. And it sounded like this person is now going to come to the council meeting on Tuesday night and convey whatever he wants to convey. He doesn't want to pay, which I think is the substance. He feels like he pays enough property taxes, he shouldn't have to pay for it. So he may be there at the council meeting, may not be, but they have continued to play since that discussion. The mayor's aware.
Play again?
They were there this Tuesday.
So it's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens at the council meeting. I will be there. You're all free to come. I would just ask, just because I know timing, the council meeting doesn't start till 7:30 on Tuesday, because they have a public meeting before for the mayor. Is that we don't want to repeat the same comments. Like if I get up and speak, and you go on and say the same thing, don't get up and say the same thing. It's just, kind of a waste of time. But you're all welcome. You can zoom in or come. So we'll wait and see.
If I live in town, can I go play soccer on the field, whatever I want to do?
By yourself.
So
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, not having a team.
if it's not
100%,
used,
109 less.
and you're by yourself.
Okay, 9 or less.
As long as somebody else doesn't have a
Right, there's a permit that they get.
Unpermitted, 9 or less. Gotcha.
And 10 or more, you pay fees, you get insurance. And the town is an additional insured under the insurance.
But I can't go play on that baseball.
Nope.
No, not that baseball. There are other baseball fields.
You also better have your dog on a leash at Bicentennial too.
Dog's not on a leash. Well, he's always on a leash,
Right, thank you.
even in the house.
This is a good camera when you say that. So just
I like that answer.
just from a historical perspective, we had a group in town. I don't think it's the same one, right, Jen? That a personal Sunday morning.
That's the same group.
Same group in the pouring rain. Okay.
Fields were closed, adult men's group still
Yeah,
played soccer.
and they destroyed.
Oh,
They,
Fields are
That's
closed
awesome.
tonight, so this group has been playing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today, Sage Auxiliary and Sage 2 are closed fields because of the amount of rain we received, so it'd be interesting if they're out there.
I went up there today just to see. It was pretty wet. You were up there.
We closed about 5 or 6 fields today.
I'll check tomorrow.
Just today during the day.
I'll see if there's footprints out there. It
Yeah,
was,
you'll be able to tell.
there were parts of the field that
Truck. Parks and Rec truck?
probably, well, if you put anything heavy on it,
So
it was,
Damage is true.
Berlin Youth Soccer has the fields reserved for right now, but like maybe Tuesday night, they, for whatever
So
reason.
I talked to John Riley. John Riley's actually being really good this year in letting me know, like, you guys get the weekly report on Thursdays.
Right.
You have what people have booked for the season. John Riley is emailing me on Sunday night saying, hey, this week, I don't need the field on this days. I'm not sending you guys all those changes,
Yeah.
but as of right now, he doesn't have a team practicing on Stage 2 on Tuesdays. It's used for rain out and make updates. So that's why they haven't been there.
That's why, so this team, that's why they can go on.
They figured it out.
I think I would hope they would respect it if Berlin Youth Soccer went there and told them how they played.
just so you know, they have been, not recent, but they were in the spring, they were playing at the gate. Because Andrew went for, it must have been an open house, and he saw a group of adults playing at the gate. Just so you know. But I mean, I haven't, usually it's booked by us now.
Yeah.
But it was an open house night, I don't know when, but he just said, because he plays there too, so.
So they find where they can play. But the point is, we charge fees for all programs. We charge fees to use the pool, doesn't cover the cost. Timberland charges to play golf. Things are costly, there will be fees. We are a recommending commission. Council can accept it or not. But that's what we discussed Tuesday.
And the challenge is, if you want to call them a renegade group run, they have no ownership to the field, right? Those idiots that I talked to, because I wanted to talk to ranked one of our guys at the time.
We gotta,
all right, that's fine. Cool. Yeah. They just sort of it took me 2 days to fix it, so
okay. Any questions with that, Joe?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay.
Good discussion.
Yep.
And I mean, I'd like to hear what this guy's got to say at the town council meeting. To the comment you made, Donna, right? I mean, everybody else pays.
Right.
No exceptions. Here are the rules.
It'll be a big change for the town if it's continued, so. Okay. Discussion on Fields Playground Tours.
You still want that on there? You had asked me like a year ago to put that on. Do you still want that on every agenda?
So, yeah, you can take it off. Because
Okay.
if we're gonna go, yeah, that's fair enough, John, thanks. The whole idea with having it on there is, does anybody, like you're learning about the fields, go visit them, walk them. Feel free to ask any questions or whatever. I wanted people to go out and see these parks and fields and things that we're, so that's why. But speaking of playgrounds, this packet, and did Joe get a packet emailed to him?
No, sorry, Joe.
Joe, it
I'll
will
send
be
it to you
emailed
tomorrow.
We can just send it to Don and
Yeah, I'll send it out tomorrow morning.
okay.
Thank you.
Yep, sorry.
It's okay.
So in Steve's budget is $200,000 to replace Little People's Playground, which is right here on the foot of the entrance, right? Go up the hill to it. Older fields, sometime in the 90s. Most of our playgrounds were put in the 90s. We've been going after one or two or whatever every year, try and get something done. So now Little People's is the one. So $200,000 in the budget. Steve was asked by the town manager and council to show them what $200,000 would be. So last Tuesday night at the council meeting, Steve presented this packet, and I want to make sure that you guys see this packet. This is a conceptual design. Do you have it?
Yeah, I looked through it.
So the second page just gives you what to call all the equipment. This third page is kind of a schematic of what it would look like. This is Creative Playground. This is what they just put in somewhere, and it was about $200,000 cost. That's what it was used for, to give them an idea of what we're talking about. You can see the map. That's to help with kids that are disabled. As I've learned, every playground is 2 years old to 10 years old. You try and cover that range, even though this is called Little People's, you want to have equipment, so if an older brother comes or whatever, he's able to use it as well. There's all different side views of the swing sets. You'll see some larger swings, which are more for handicap. There's adult swings, so a grandparent or a parent can ride a swing with their grandchild. And I'm not going to go through it. I just want to share with you, the council has this, but again, it's conceptual. It's not necessarily what we would do at Little People's, but like I said, it's about $200,000. It may be what we do at Little People's, but we will have an opportunity as commission to discuss that once the town council approves it. At the last meeting, they went through several items that the finance committee had recommended be funded from the surplus, and they stopped at Little People's. The Moms Group was there, they spoke, I spoke. We really wanted to get the 200,000. Steve spoke. They never looked at the packet, they never looked at it. They never talked about it anyway in the meetings. What did happen is the mayor very generously talked about, you know, I'd really like to talk more about a splash pad. And, you know, so could you guys go back and take a look at splash pad, you know, see what we could do? Jen, Steve, and I had brought it up very briefly. I think I brought it up initially when I had an audience with the mayor. You know, at some point we want to talk about splash pad down the road. So he talked a little bit about it at that meeting. So he took that and now he wants to talk about it more. So he wants Steve to present something Tuesday. Steve is still working on it. We won't get to see it. You'll see it. It'll be in the package. If you want to look at the town council package, you'll see it. But, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into, like, you know, on the fields. There's a lot of planning. So all we have is 200,000 in our budget for Little People's. Finance committee has approved to use 200,000 for Little People's. The council has to approve it. They then divert it to splash pad, which we think is much more than 200,000. And where you would put it is open. You know, there's a lot of work that has to go into it, just like fields, right? So a lot of infrastructure. Plus we have our meeting in October to listen to people. You know, maybe they have some ideas working. So I am hopeful that it's not a diversion tactic, that he's generally, you know, wants to talk about splash pads. He's looking forward to something. It would be something, by the time it's studied and we see it and we recommend, you know, based on Steve, Jen's work and other people's, once we see it all, then we would recommend, you know, this is what we want to pay. And it may not be 200,000. It might be a little bit more by the time it gets done. We ran into that with Percival, the costs were higher. So then you got to go back. So there's a whole process that has to go into it. Maybe we would cut out something, if the costs go up, cut out something just so that we can get most of it done, you know, to be around 200. So that being said, that will also be on the agenda Tuesday night, along with the other capital items that they didn't get to. And I'm hopeful that, and I am going to speak to it, that I would ask that they pass this thing Tuesday night so we get to work.
This.
Well, conceptual, just give us the 200,000, approve it to be spent, and then Steve goes to work. This is a conceptual design.
Well, if they can do all that for $2,000, that's great.
There were negative comments that were made by the audience of citizens. A couple of people got up and spoke. 200,000 for a playground? Are you kidding me? I mean, you know, so it was surprisingly. But that being said, we're hopeful. And you know, with the finance committee approving it, that was a big stumbling block. So we're able to get that far.
I'd like to cut the educational budget in half. Really for
Joe,
taxation.
you all set?
Joe had to step away for a minute.
Okay, okay. Grant update?
We have pictures, first of all, we're still up.
We got, which one?
So we have two major field renovations going on right now. We are converting the grass behind the Berlin High School, Biscaglia Field, to a turf field.
Berlin High School is something you're making it.
That's right.
It's inside the track.
At the track. Yeah.
Okay.
Is
Is that for public use or just school use?
That will be for public and school use. Yep. Every field in town is public.
Can the kids drink on that
No.
after school?
No. So Biscaglia was a few weeks behind due to the rain we've gotten and some supply issues, but it will be completed in the fall, ready for play in the spring, which was what, you know, is hoped.
They were putting the, whatever if that's rubber, the white things.
So if you're going down the sidewalk, the big white things on the right is the infill, that's the rubber.
Yeah.
And then around the track, the big square white, that's the shock pad.
Okay.
So that's positioned around the track.
Yeah, over by
Percival is on schedule, under budget, and looks fantastic. So
Yeah,
that project is.
I was going over there today. It looks good. I mean,
Today I went, it was very, very much, but they started digging the irrigation lines. So.
Early news for the most part, you know, you wanna go.
Do you know if they got any,
But if, I did take a ride down last Tuesday night. Anyway, Stephen mentioned the boulders that were taken.
Yes.
They were
First of all,
just-
Yeah.
So look at, so if you think of this area right here.
Yeah.
It was probably maybe right to here, but it went double. And they had the big ones in the middle and all the small rocks. They have a filtering machine out there. They must fill the stuff in and they keep the rocks.
Right now,
Several big rocks.
because all the sand they pulled out, they're putting through the skimmer
Yeah.
to get all the big stuff out, and then there's that sand, that dirt topsoil is all going back in the ground. And then we have more coming.
Big project. Big project.
If you go down there and just, you'll see, I don't think they moved them yet, did they?
Probably beginning of next week.
Yeah.
I was there.
You want
today.
to see the rocks, there's a pile of dirt that
Yeah.
they pulled out, and there's some rocks in there. But you go look at the rocks, but then walk up to it and look in the middle. I mean, there are big suckers.
Oh, they're huge.
So that's it for the grant update. The only other thing I have that I want to bring up real quick is CIAC. They reach out every year to, you know, various groups, various schools, asking them to host playoff games. So they reached out to Dave, the AD at Berlin High School, and he reached out to me and Steve, wondering if we could host CIAC playoff games November 14th, 15th, and 16th.
Or what?
Soccer. They would pay all the fees and everything. It's similar to when we hosted at Stage One for softball or Fidelity for baseball. However, we would like to say no because Berlin Youth Football Championship is Sunday, November 19th. They're going to still need to practice that whole week, as well as if our soccer teams are in the playoffs, they will need to practice, as well as if high school football is still in the playoffs, they will need to practice. And I would really like the chance for Berlin Youth Football to have first right of that field of the turf if the high schools aren't practicing and support our youth group. And thus, for this season, say no to CIAC just because schedule-wise, it doesn't look like it's gonna work.
Does Berlin Youth Football always play on that field, or they have their?
Right now,
that's just for the big
because we're
games.
short, their games, they play on Scalise on Sundays.
Play,
Yeah.
okay.
Practices, they're mostly practicing on stage front and stage front mostly. Turf when it's available, but with the 3 high school teams not having anywhere else to practice, they're mostly staying on stage front. So knowing that week, gearing up to their championship, that they'd be able to have the turf for a couple hours a day, I think is something we have to consider and allow them to use it before we bring an outside group in.
So,
And then, I'm sorry, what?
so is there any space in there? What are the tournaments? So the,
The 14th, 15th, and 16th, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, CIAC request.
and when is
And those
the,
are the 3 days that Berlin Youth Football would practice that. And ideally, they'd like to practice 5 to 7 as long as they can work it out with the high school, depending on both soccer teams are in the playoffs.
so what kind of money is that?
Should be. I mean,
It's a decent amount, but to me, I think it's important to
No,
support.
I do
it.
too. I just want-
Are you saying money for collecting tickets or whatever?
No, CIAC would pay us field fees and we would pay the grounds costs.
So that's a state championship.
There wouldn't be any custodial costs because they're all on weekdays, so there wouldn't be grounds costs or. Cause you wouldn't need them for you need grounds costs for the event, but custodian would be the next day during work hours, so.
The times, Jen, that CIAC, they want 24/7 or?
No, they wanna be able to run a soccer game, probably like a 3:30, 4 o'clock start would be my guess on each
And
of
then
those
into
days.
the,
Yeah. So,
and those are during the week and that's.
it's
Early.
prime
Yeah, that's
time,
bad. So Scalvia was done a year ago.
right,
They
Yeah.
could
But Scoglio, you know, we would move midget football over there.
What's the 2 budgets of those first four on Scotland? What would that just round
what's the what?
the budget to? Remember 200,000 for these little people?
Oh.
Biscoglio is a 1.9 million
That
from,
funded by the
that's
state.
the grant we got from the state.
Joe Aristimowitz's going to.
Percival, I believe, is a little less than like 450, 429, I think is the actual contract price. That doesn't include our architect.
So we're paying for that. Right? So
For some Percival, the town is paying for it, yeah.
Yeah.
So So we don't have to vote, I'm just looking for your support to support our local
It
group
makes
instead
sense,
of
I mean,
having
we
an
have to
outside
look
group.
into our youth groups.
Instead of having an outside group come rent the field, yeah.
And you've already talked to Berlin Midget Football, they've definitely.
Yep, I talked to John Paul, those are the 3 days he would like to use, which is the 3 days CIAC is coming.
Unfortunately, maybe next year.
Yeah, I think being short fields, it's not something we should
Yeah,
try to squeeze
I would
in.
just mention that because that'd be great to have.
Yeah, you don't want to top picking us anymore.
Yeah. I think being short of field, 2 fields this year
Two
has
fields,
really
yeah.
hurt us. And we've always said yes to baseball and softball, they've been hosting those for a couple of years.
Two things if I could bring up, Don Delaquila texted me and they have a football game at Scalise and he said, don't get excited. Donna, can you bring up to Jen that nobody was trained on the scoreboard and so it's not working the way it should. This is all that happens. It's a clock. Only Nick Smith said he does not know how to use it. Thank you.
So
That was not up to us.
So here's, did I send you the email about the scoreboard? Okay,
No.
so, Ashley, who is from Board of Ed, as well as Brian Benigni, reached out to Steve and I and said, actually just reached out to me and I included Steve. So myself, Brian, the superintendent, Ashley, Jeff Kubno, and Steve, and Wayne Wright from facilities all had a meeting regarding the scoreboard, regarding the Jumbotron, so to speak, because this is not just a scoreboard to keep score anymore. It has video capabilities, it has capabilities to run ads and everything like that.
Just for Lucas, this scoreboard was also funded by the state through Joe Arson Woods grant.
That's at the football field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the high school has been
NFL
using
type
it.
size.
So we met right when school starts, first week of school before there were any games. And Brian's idea was that for the first year, so Brian there's a curriculum with this scoreboard. If you're using it outside from just keeping score, there's an actual curriculum that is going into the school system as part of the audiovisual group at school. So they're the ones being trained and they're led by Nick Smith.
Okay.
So that's
AD
the
club?
yeah, that's the group that is told to use the scoreboard. So the agreement that came out of the meeting, which I've sent to field users and all have agreed to it, is for the first year, the only group that will utilize the scoreboard is Berlin High School Athletics. Whether they use it for football, soccer, lacrosse, that is up to them. They will work with Nick Smith to make sure that him and his crew will be on site for these games and they will be the ones to run the scoreboard. Yeah. So I reached out to my youth groups and I said, hey, for the first year, you guys are more than welcome to use the scoreboard to keep score because they know how to do that because that technology has not changed at all. But you're not going to use it for ads. You're not, because, Berlin Youth Football asked, can we sell ads to this and run them during our games? Can we run, a highlight video at our championship? It was agreed with that group that for the first year, youth groups would not use it, only high school athletics. Brian even said, he's like, I don't even know if soccer and lacrosse is going to use it. We might just use it for football games in the fall. Let them get acclimated to the software. Let them get acclimated to using it. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be a fee moving forward next year that we will discuss with the Board of Ed as to if Berlin Youth Football wants to use it, they will have to pay an additional fee because they will need either Nick Smith or one of his staff to come and run it.
Yep, and that's exactly how when we approved the monies for the grant to be spent on the scoreboard, I was on this so-called committee, and I said, Parks and Rec does not have the staff to learn that scoreboard, run it. There's advertising, you can make some money, blah, blah, blah. And Brian Benigni at that said, well, I don't have staff either. I said, well, there's no sense getting the scoreboard unless someone's gonna run it from Board of Ed. Later on, it was decided that Board of Ed would take it over, and then you had this follow-up meeting at the beginning of the year, so.
And what I think you need to tell Don is if there's an issue with the scoreboard, we have nothing to do with it. It is completely only being run by Board of Ed personnel.
So there was a soccer game on Tuesday night, and the board was working, the score.
Yeah.
However, I would tell you, I was over there too, and a Legion baseball game was being played.
Yeah.
And they still have a Wi-Fi problem because the score was also on Save One Girl Softball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they had that problem before.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been fixed. So I don't know if you have two games going at the same time, what's going to happen?
We had no issues in the spring with the two games going at the same time. So. But yeah, Don needs to know it's just, it's only Board of Ed personnel. We have nothing to do with it.
All right, so I'll
And I
just
told the youth group. so-
paraphrasing what you said, send it back to you. Last thing that I have is, plan of conservation and development. Every 10 years, the town has to do this plan of conservation and development. It's probably, I don't know how big it is. They came to us earlier this year or last year, talked about Parks and Rec and things that we would like included in that, you know, for planning for the next 10 years. So wording was put in. Now they're going to council, or they went to council and town manager, and they have decided that they want to create a committee. And a representative from our Parks and Rec Commission would be on this committee with a representative from all these other groups that have something to do with it. And watch this plan of conservation and development get implemented, done, blah, blah, blah. There are some action items for each group to do. So not asking for it tonight, but if anyone is interested, please let us know. We'll discuss it in October. You know, we'll bring it up. If one of you, or maybe Don and Tony, they're not here, so
Tony said he wanted to do it.
yeah,
Yeah.
be glad to have you sit on that. It's a good learning tool. It's really a good plan, but to implement it, it's a whole other story.
It might be worse than volunteer, but I'll do it if I have to.
Well, no, but if
I'll
anybody
send,
is
I'll
interested,
send a letter out
please,
to the entire commission and say, read this over at October. No, because we're missing two.
we're gonna need someone, so,
We have to vote on someone on.
yeah,
not
if
vote,
you're
nominate
interested, let me
someone
know
on
so that
in October.
I can just say, okay, we've already got volunteers.
One quick question. So we approved who's the guy that does grants?
Jim Mahoney?
Mahoney, right? And I remember reading in the minutes somewhere that he wanted a letter from us or something like that.
With the sidewalks.
Yeah, with the
Letter?
sidewalks,
Yeah, we
yeah.
did a letter.
Okay, so how long does it take to hear about that? Or, you know, just.
Just the sidewalks on Kensington Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so people could walk to our playgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we need 200,000 for little people. It'd be nice to walk. Those little people. So that's what.
Okay. We don't know how long it takes.
No. No. I do have one other thing, talking about grants. Someone contacted me that lives down at Silver Lake. And he wants the state to come in and do weed control in Silver Lake. You know, all the lakes have weeds and growth. Silver Lake is a state lake. You do have, you know, Berlin has residents, Meriden has residents around the lake. So when he called me, I said, you're the only person that would bring this up, but I said, what, they did do some type of, I don't know, irrigation, whatever you want to call it, I don't know what you call it, vegetation control, a few years back or something. And he said, yeah, well, it's grown back. And the state says the town has to put forth a plan, and then the state will provide a grant for you to go out and hire someone to do the weed, you know, you being the town, to do the weed control. I said, it's a state lake. Like, they should be doing it. In any event, he's now copied me on these email in this group that he has. I did pass it on through Steve to Micah Hearn, who's director of public works. That really probably knows this a lot better. He was on vacation Labor Day. I've given him, you know, time. I'll get back to him. I just want to let you know that was out there. And but I'm going to ask, you know, Mike to contact this fellow and find out. So just want to let you know that, you know, he thought Parks and Rec should be involved because of boat use and things like that.
Does Meriden have a launch? No, just on the side.
I don't know.
You know, Jen?
Remember at Silver Lake, we were going to
Yeah,
talk about a soccer field. Right. Okay, with that, are there any other comments?
Nope. I'll make a
Joe?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay.
Joe, thanks for joining us, even though you're
Yeah,
not
I
feeling
hope
well.
you feel better.
My pleasure.
Thank you for not sharing. Yeah.
Okay, motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
You too.